How you doing, Bruin fans? Todd Reeves here with your UCLA Daily report, part of the Fan Arch Network. Glad you joined me on this Thursday, March 19th. And Merry Christmas to all those college basketball fans out there, because it's the opening day of the NCAA tournament. Hope you have your brackets all filled out and ready to go. Now, they did play a couple of play-in games the last 2 days, but that doesn't really count in my mind. The first game on Thursday is really the start of the NCAA tournament. The other ones are just to get into the big dance. So today's the day. So rejoice, everybody, but don't forget UCLA doesn't play until tomorrow on Friday at 4:25 p.m. on TBS. And we'll see how UCLA does against Central Florida. Tomorrow's show will have a big breakdown of the Golden Knights and what they bring to the table. I can tell you already that they're a pretty good offensive team that likes to score, and they play at an up-tempo kind of pace, but they don't play much defense. So we'll see if that goes right into UCLA's hands, or will the Bruins have trouble guarding the Golden Knights? We'll see more on Friday night, but I'll give you a little preview of that tomorrow. But today, we're going to play a game that we've played about a week or so ago when it was with the Big Ten tournament. And it's a simple game, and it's just one question, and that is, what does UCLA need to do in the NCAA tournament to make you, a Bruin fan, happy? How far do they have to go? Obviously, if they lose in the first round to Central Florida, no one's going to be happy with that. I mean, Central Florida is a Big 12 team, and they did get an at-large berth, but we're UCLA. I mean, they're the higher seed. They need to beat Central Florida, take care of business, and move on to the second round. Last year when they had the opening round game against Utah State, everyone was kind of concerned. Utah State, kind of a sleeper, a pretty good team from the Mountain West. And UCLA just absolutely destroyed them last year. So will it be another destroying, of Central Florida this year? Who knows? But they have to get that win. There isn't going to be any UCLA fans happy if they don't win that game. So now you move on to the second round. If the Bruins play a competitive game against Connecticut and Connecticut ends up going a great distance in the tournament, is that good enough? Obviously, if they get blown out by UConn, no one's going to be happy again. You don't want to see UCLA embarrassed out there. But if they can play competitive, even in a loss, like let's say they did against Purdue in the Big Ten semis, is that good enough? I mean, they'd have one win under their belt and, battled a 2 seed that was pretty good. Or do they need to win that game? I'm sure there's some Bruin fans out there that say, you know what, we need to win, and we need to get to the Sweet 16. Is the Sweet 16 good enough? They probably have to face Michigan State. That's the team slated to be there, as they are the 3 seed. And you say just got done beating the Spartans in the Big Ten tournament. So will there be expectations then that UCLA needs to beat Michigan State or any other team in the Sweet 16 to get to the Elite Eight? And if they get to the Elite Eight, I mean, after that, it's just gravy. I mean, Bruin fans have to be happy with that, an Elite Eight run. There shouldn't be any upset fans, even if they lose in the Elite Eight with a chance to go to the Final Four, that have to be upset. I mean, you'd have to give this team and Coach Cronin credit for getting as far as they did. An Elite Eight run would be absolutely spectacular, especially when you look back in November and December when this team was really struggling. To then fast forward to March and have them as an Elite Eight team would just be, I think, just, a chef's kiss to UCLA and its program. But, maybe there are some fans with very, very high standards out there. So leave your comments down below and tell me, how far does UCLA need to go to satisfy you as a Bruin fan? What are you looking for when things tip off for UCLA on Friday? So we'll see how that goes. But today we're also going to talk about the football program and head coach Bob Chesney, who went on local ESPN LA radio on Tuesday and spoke about the program with DeMarco and Travis. That was the name of the show. It's DeMarco Farr is one of the hosts. I don't know the last name, I'm sorry, of Travis. But, DeMarco was an ex-Ram. He went to Washington, and he's also had family that went to UCLA, and he was pretty positive about the program, as was Travis, who said he was a Trojan fan. But a couple of things that I took away after listening to the interview with Coach Chesney is Number one, he labeled the offense the confidence of the team. He said the defense was the spirit of the team, and the special teams was the heart and soul of the team. So I thought that was pretty cool, to label it that way. Now, what did he mean by that? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like the heart of the team, the spirit of the team. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. It really deserved a follow-up, what he kind of meant by that. But, I mean, he's just thinking, this is the way it is, and, this is how I see each unit on this team. But I don't know what he meant. Maybe someone can ask him in an interview here shortly, and maybe during like media days or something, what he really meant by that. But some other things that he said were that spring practice is right around the corner. Right now, UCLA students are in finals week. Then the following week, they have spring break. And then when they come back from spring break, which is in early April, UCLA spring practice will begin. They will have 3 practices per week, and then in early May will be the spring game, spring showcase. I don't know what they're calling it. I don't know if it's going to be a real game or if it's going to be a scrimmage or, just some guys, warming up and throwing some balls, catching some balls. I don't know what they have planned, and I don't even know where it is. I mean, maybe someone out there can write it in the comments. Is it going to be at Drake? Is it going to be at the Rose Bowl? I'd imagine it's going to be at Drake. It's been there recently, but it has been at the Rose Bowl in the past. But I think it's going to be probably a Drake, and we'll see what Coach Chesney and the staff has, planned. So who knows? The other thing that I found was interesting was that he didn't really know a lot of the players. Like, he doesn't have a lot of film, especially on the guys coming back who didn't play much last year. Obviously, he has film on the guys coming in from the transfer portal, and of course his guys that came from James Madison. But he said until they get out there and put on the pads for spring practice, I mean, he doesn't really know. It's kind of a mystery of the talent level and what guys can do, what they can't do. So it'll be interesting to see what spring practice brings. But with this roster, so many new players, a whole new coaching staff. I mean, they're starting from scratch. So the other thing he said was that he didn't know how the offense, they asked him about, what kind of style of offense does he run? Is it going to be a passing offense, grind it out? And again, said didn't know because he doesn't know exactly the talent that he has out there until he sees them get out there and they start hitting and tackling and throwing and catching, blocking, and all that good stuff. So we'll see about that. And then the funny thing that he also said is he hasn't had time to have an In-N-Out burger yet. So the radio host said that, it was kind of, you got to go to In-N-Out once you're in LA. And Coach Chesney said every time he sees the In-N-Out in Westwood, there's always a line around the block and he doesn't have time to wait. So, hey, In-N-Out in Westwood, why don't you hook Coach up there with some burgers or something, I'm sure he'd enjoy it. And then maybe we can get a burger at In-N-Out named after Coach Chesney, the Ches Burger or something like that. I don't know. Again, if you have an idea, I like Ches Burger. That was pretty good. But if you have one, put it down in the comments. Tell me what a hamburger named after Coach Bob Chesney, what the name of that would be. So, again, he was very friendly on the air, and both the radio hosts were impressed with Coach Chesney. And that brings me to the next topic, and that is Coach Chesney too good to be true? I mean, everything that he has done from the moment he was hired has been 100% positive. There hasn't been any negatives coming out against Coach Chesney at all. In fact, I believe it's Eric Peters, who is the GM of the Washington Commanders, who was on the committee, the hiring committee for UCLA, said he knew Coach Chesney was the guy for the job immediately when he spoke to him. He knew right away, this is the guy we need, this is the guy we want. And he's been absolutely spectacular with the media, with fans, with the community. I mean, he's been all over the place. He's been good on social media. The team's been good on social media. I'm just waiting for, we kind of had these feelings with Chip Kelly, so I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, what kind of coach are we going to get when, the season kicks off at Cal, but I think it's August, could be September, but I'm pretty sure it's August, which is a few months from now, obviously. But, what kind of team are we going to have? Because Coach Chip Kelly, everyone was all excited, all ready to go, and then the Bruins fell on their face that first season. I think they were at 3-9, something like that, and all the air just got sucked right out of the balloon. So as a UCLA fan, it's been a struggle when it comes to the football program. So is this the guy? Did we finally get the guy? Is this Curt Cignetti 2.0? Is he going to turn this thing around immediately? Who knows? One of the things he did say in that interview was there are no restrictions or limits or anything on what UCLA can do. This year, the following years, everything. He wants to put no limits. He wants the Bruins to do as best they can every day and every workout. And then we'll see what happens and let the chips fall where they may. Well, when you're talking chips, you need some new chips in the program and some new blood. And that comes from recruiting. And even though we said everything's been positive with Coach Chesney, the one thing I guess you could say if you want to nitpick and some warning signs might be high school recruiting. I read a story online that said UCLA, don't expect a whole lot from the 2027 recruiting class. Hopefully they get a top 25 class, but a top 15 class is probably out of the question because they're behind the 8 ball. They the way that they were hired, the timing of it. A lot of high school recruits had already been, recruited, had been way down the road with several schools. So UCLA was playing catch up, and Coach Chesney even mentioned that on his radio hit that he's playing catch up this year, and really that the staff should be looked at and graded by the 2028 recruiting class. So that may put a little cold water on the fire of Coach Chesney and, what the Bruin fans think of him. Maybe, who knows, maybe 2027 recruiting class will turn out to be great. Maybe they will play catch up, and it's not for a lack of effort. I've read nothing but, superlatives about the coaching staff going out and recruiting people, not being lazy, going out to campuses, introducing themselves, and doing a wonderful job at, just the whole PR and getting out there and letting people see your faces, especially on high school campuses. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things turn out, but we'll talk about all that later on. But that'll do it for today's show. Don't forget, we'll have the preview of the Golden Knights game with UCLA in the first round of the NCAA tournament tomorrow. Enjoy the tournament, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.